I'm here with a new episode for all of you. This case gives me the willies and it's one that many people have heard about over the years, but there are still so many questions left unanswered in this case. They saw a man's body slumped over the hood of a car. They thought it was strange, but they didn't think much of it. The man's pants were around his ankles and his shoes were off. The boys started to panic and ran away. He was completely naked except for his shoes, which were on the sidewalk near the car. His car was a dark blue Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme. At some point during the night, the neighbors heard screaming between 2 and 3 a.m., but no one took note of it or thought anything of it until the next morning. The next morning, the boys told their parents what they had seen, and they convinced their parents to go and take a look. An autopsy showed that he was struck at least 3 times on the back of the head, which led to his death. He was last seen on February 1969. John lived with his mother and stepfather at 2701 17th Avenue South. On the day that he disappeared, he told his mother that he was going to go to a friend's house, but he never returned home. Lester was brought in for questioning, but he denied having any involvement in the disappearance of David. However, when his car was searched, police found a notebook containing the name and address of several families whose children were reported missing. Police went to these families and they confirmed that their children were indeed missing. This theory was further supported when in 2001, a woman came forward and claimed that she was kidnapped by one of the members of this ring. Her name is Mary Joan Rested. She was only 15 years old when she was abducted by a man named Billy Thompson. She said that she was held captive for 2 weeks and brutally assaulted. She was eventually dropped off in Wisconsin and managed to escape her abductors. For example, how did Lester know about these children? I think he was part of a ring of kidnappers who preyed on Native American children. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Was he scouting out the neighborhood? If so, why? Please share this video with someone who may not have heard about this case. And if you have any information on this case, please come forward and contact the authorities. All the information will be provided below. Thank you all for watching. Until the next video, stay safe. Why were the shoes and clothes neatly placed next to the victim's body? Why did the residents hear screams during the night? These are just a few of the questions that have people wondering if Lester acted alone. She survived by staying on the run for 2 years. Eventually she was caught and sent to juvenile prison. While there, she overheard the other inmates talking about other missing children, and that is, when she realized that she was not the only victim, she was taken to the police and she told them everything that she overheard. But police were unable to find any evidence to support her claims. There was also signs of defensive wounds on his arms and hands, indicating that he did try to fight back against his attacker. She said that she was sure that there was a group of men that were preying on Native American children. People were afraid to let their children outside and play. Parents were keeping their children inside and teaching them to be aware of this. One parent was quoted as saying, "We keep telling our kids to be careful, to stay away from strangers, and to yell for help if anyone tries to grab them. It's the kind of thing you'd expect teenagers to do, but we're teaching our small fry that, too." To this day, there are so many unanswered questions in this case. But the police ruled this out. Other people believed that it was the work of serial killer Richard Ramirez, aka the Night Stalker. But Ramirez was also ruled out because he was in California at the time of the abductions. What makes this case so disturbing is the fact that there are so many unanswered questions. He served 27 years in prison before being released in 1996. Even after being released, he refused to talk about what happened to the children. And to this day, their bodies have never been found. We don't know exactly what happened to these children. Was Lester were alone or did he have a How did Lester know about these children? Did he abduct them, harm them, or even kill them? And if so, what happened to their bodies? The police initially didn't connect the dots and investigate further into these disappearances. But a month later, the mother of David Berry contacted the police to let them know that someone had been asking questions about her son. She said that this man asked her if she had received any new information in her son's case and wanted to know if she was willing to accept money in exchange for her son. She declined and immediately reported this to the police. Police assumed that this was a murder and that Gantz was killed somewhere else, and then his body was dumped in the area where it was found. He was last seen on January 1969. Raymond lived with his mother and father at 2829 18th Avenue South. On the day that he disappeared, he told his mother that he was going to go to a nearby grocery store to get some items, but he never returned home. The parents assumed that the body was just an intoxicated man passed out from drinking too much and went on with their day. He was involved with selling narcotics and was currently on probation for a burglary. That occurred in August of 1968. The first child to disappear was 10-year-old David L. Barry. He was last seen January 1969. David lived with his mother and stepfather at 2718 15th Avenue South. On the day that he disappeared, he told his mother that he was going to go play at a friend's house, but when he never returned home, she called the police. On the night that Gantz was killed, he was supposed to meet with two men regarding a drug deal. Police believe that this drug deal went bad and that's why Gantz was killed. But the question is, what happened to his body after he was killed, and how did it end up in the backyard of an unsuspecting family? But by 9 a.m., police were called to the scene. They just assumed that he was intoxicated and fell asleep. But later that night, those same boys would find the man dead, and this is when their nightmare began. So today we're going to cover everything you need to know about the missing children from Robin Hood Hills. Tommy and Peter were brothers, and they lived at 4501 3rd Avenue South. Michael lived across the street from them. On the day that they found the body, Michael was the first to spot it. He was looking out his bedroom window when he saw the body. He called his friend Peter over to look, and then they went and got Tommy. They said that the body was slumped over the hood of a car, and that is why they assumed that the man just fell asleep. And if you have any information on this case, please come forward and contact the authorities. All the information will be provided below. Also, I would like to give a huge shout out to someone who made a really great video on this case. If you want to see more coverage on this case, definitely go check out their video. It was very well put together. On December 1968, 3 boys were playing near their neighborhood in Minneapolis when they spotted something strange. These boys were ages 11, 12, and 13. Their names were Michael Swanson, Peter Zatko, and Tommy Zatko. When they returned to the body later that night, they realized that something was wrong. The man was identified as Jacob Anthony Jeanette, a 25-year-old factory worker. At 9:30 a.m., Gans was pronounced dead. It appeared that he died from blunt force trauma to the head. As the investigation progressed, police learned that Gans was involved in illegal activities. What made this case even more bizarre was the fact that over the next few weeks, 3 young children went missing. The second child to disappear was 9-year-old Raymond W. Thomas. The third child to disappear was 11 J. Woods. All 3 boys who went missing lived within close proximity to each other, and they all vanished within a 2-week period of time. Police were able to identify the man who tried to purchase the boy as Lester Eugene Ware. It was then that police connected the dots and realized that there may be a connection between all these missing children and the murdered man from December. Lester was charged with 3 counts of kidnapping and 1 count of murder. Some people believe that Lester acted alone, while others believe that there was a ring of kidnappers who were abducting children from low-income families. Billy Thompson was also questioned, but denied any wrongdoing. In 2011, Mary Joan was interviewed again, and she stood by her story. When the murders, kidnappings, and suspicious deaths of children became widespread in the news, there was a huge media frenzy. This case shocked the nation. Some people believe that it could be the work of the Manson family, since Charles Manson was living in Minnesota at the time. Even though many people believe that Lester acted alone, there are many inconsistencies in the case that may suggest otherwise. In my opinion, I think there's more than meets the eye in this case. I don't think Lester acted alone. That was everything you need to know about the missing children from Robin Hood Hills.